Uh, Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Eldridge and esteemed members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of H3956, which would serve to implement the recommendations of the Structural Racism and Corrections Commission. My name is LaToya Whiteside. I'm a senior attorney and the director of the Race Equity and Corrections Initiative at Prisoner Legal Services. I also served as a commissioner on the Corrections Commission, and I've worked closely with both Representative Holmes and Senator Miranda to prioritize this bill. Although the Corrections Commission was tasked with examining structural racism, much of that work was curtailed by the lack of available race data. Presently, correctional institutions are not mandated to collect substantive racial demographics. Massachusetts DLC reports race data in just three areas: population trends, crime trends, and minimal information regarding solitary confinement. The result is that the Commission and organizations like PLS are unable to comprehensively analyze and thus challenge structural racism embedded in correctional policies, programs, or practices. Currently, the data shows people of color are drastically overrepresented in Massachusetts prisons and jails. And from a ton of research, we also know that racism impacts the criminal justice system, including corrections. But as noted by the Commission, we lack insight into the carceral experience itself. We lack race data regarding vital areas such as program participation and outcomes, disciplinary proceedings, classification, access to medical and mental health care, employment. And though this list isn't exhaustive, the failure to aggregate this type of data by race means that we have little insight into the day-to-day experiences of BIPOC prisoners. It's not enough to simply acknowledge the racist underpinnings within corrections. If the goal is to truly create a just system, we have to look at the picture as a whole, which includes identifying the policies and day-to-day practices that create inequities. And we do that through data. Passage of H3956 would allow for the creation of a robust data system that would provide insight into all of these areas, and it would do so through an independent office, which would ensure accuracy and transparency. Other key provisions of the bill include the inclusion of enforcement mechanisms, such as the ability to impose fines in instances where the DOC has failed to adhere to recommendations of that office, creation of a community council that would allow impacted family members to have voices in the process, and a prisoner reporting system. Finally, I just want to emphasize that independent oversight with enforcement is essential to ensuring this effort is effective and not just another rubber stamp. It's not enough to leave this work to the DOC to carry out. PLS has attempted to work with the DOC to collect race data and has repeatedly been met with resistance and a lack of transparency. Racial demographic information will not only help advocates and policymakers and DOC to improve outcomes for Black and Brown prisoners, but it will also inform families, social service providers, and parole officers on how best to support them during and after their time in prison.